to this edition of Border Report Live. My name is Rudy Mireles, and I'm your host here in Harlingen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley of Deep South Texas. We are continuing the role of incredible programs lined up for you. Just another great guest today. Our San Diego correspondent, Salvador Rivera, is going to be leading a conversation with California's Attorney General, Mr. Rob Bonta, on a whole host of topics, including some of the pending litigation that they have in court right now. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at one headline on another piece of pending litigation, and that is that a judge has blocked the deployment of National Guard troops in the Chicago area for 2 weeks. Now, in her ruling on Thursday, Judge April Perry said she found no substantial evidence that a danger of rebellion is brewing in Illinois. The decision is a victory for Democratic officials who lead the state and city and have been trading insults with President Donald Trump about his drive to put troops on the ground in major Democratic urban areas. The federal judge did not lay out details of any order or say what part of the request she was granting as she spoke from the bench in the crowded courtroom. And now it's time to get to that conversation. San Diego correspondent Salvador Rivera joining us now. And there, as you can see, Attorney General Rob Bonta to be part of the discussion today.
Rudy, thank you very much. And before we do get into our discussion with Mr. Bonta, while a lot of us know him very well in California, there are a lot of people perhaps in Texas, the Midwest, the Deep South, who may have heard his name, but perhaps don't really know who he is, who Rob Bonta has been doing for the state of California. And before we get into your background, I wanted to ask you about a story that I've heard for a long time, that when you were a baby and your family moved to California, you actually lived in the offices for the United Farm Workers Union. Is that true? And if so, how did that happen?
100% true. My parents were working for the United Farm Workers of America, and my mom is from the Philippines, and my dad from Ventura County. They met in grad school and moved to the Philippines to serve as missionaries and serve the community there. And I was born there, and soon after I was born, my parents asked themselves if they could raise me and ensure that I had democracy and freedom and human rights and civil rights, the rule of law, due process. And unfortunately, their answer was no, because a dictator was rising to power and martial law was around the corner. And exactly a year from the date of my birth, martial law was declared. So my parents, free and fair elections over, democracy over, political opponents who spoke up, who dared to speak out, were often arrested, imprisoned, tortured, and killed. So my parents brought me to Los Angeles, to California, to the United States, where they thought I could have opportunity, a better life, the opportunity to pursue and hopefully realize my own California dream, my own American dream one day. But they also knew that you couldn't just put your chin on your elbow, look out the window, and hope for the things that you want. You got to go fight for the things that you want, work for them, get after it, go after it. So they started working for the United Farm Workers of America. They joined the lettuce boycott in LA, and then collecting signatures outside of supermarkets, and then were invited to go to La Paz, the headquarters, the iconic, famous headquarters in the Central Valley outside of Bakersfield. And my dad worked in the front office with Cesar Chavez. He set up healthcare clinics for the farm workers who are feeding our state, feeding our nation. My mom worked in the preschool with Dolores Huerta. They were part of one of the greatest social justice movements in the history of our nation. And they fought for a fair contract for the farm workers, for fair and safe working conditions like shade breaks and bathroom breaks and water breaks. And we're part of a people-powered, people-fueled movement where everyday folks committed to a common goal, standing up for justice and trying to right wrongs, could actually transform a set of unjust practices and conditions and make life better. And that has always inspired me. I was a little boy then, but that time with the UFW and with the pride I have in my parents as activists and advocates, really inspired me to get into public service. And that belief in people power and the ability to make change, that remains a critical part of my DNA today.
So your family moves to the Sacramento area eventually. You become valedictorian in high school, go to Yale, Oxford, easy schools to get into. How does a kid from the Sacramento area grow up to become the top law enforcement official for 40 million people in the state of California?
I'm still wondering the answer to that myself, and still pinch myself to this day. And I will secretly, I will confess to you that Sometimes I secretly go online to my California DOJ website to see if my name and my photo are really there, that I actually am the Attorney General of California, because it's never something I ever dreamed was possible. And as someone born in another country, brought here as an infant, raised by an immigrant and working class family, a brown boy from another country, could be the chief law officer of the largest state in the nation, the fourth largest economy in the world, the most diverse state in the nation is, to me, it's the California dream. And so, I say the California dream is alive and well. How do I know? Because I'm living mine. And this is never something I thought was possible, but in California, anything's possible. And I don't take it for granted. I am privileged and honored. It's a privilege and honor of a lifetime to serve in this role. And the way I think I can do justice by this incredible opportunity that I never thought possible is to do my best, deliver as much as I can, make sure Californians know that their Attorney General is making their fights, his fights, that I'm by their side, and a champion for justice and for everyday Californians.
Considering the 42 lawsuits and counting against the White House, I doubt you're going to get a Christmas card this Christmas season from the White House. But let's start with some of the pending litigation that you have authored. Let's begin with the use of the National Guard, not only in California, but perhaps in Oregon. Tell us what this fight is about and what you hope the outcome is.
Sure. And I'll just say we've brought 42 lawsuits in 37 weeks against the Trump administration, more than one a week, not because we want to sue them, certainly not because we decided that we wanted to sue him once a week. We hoped that we never would have had to sue him, because that would mean he's complying with the law and complying with the Constitution of the United States of America. I don't think it's a lot to ask that the President of the United States follow the law and comply with the Constitution, but he's not. He's blatantly and brazenly, consistently and frequently violating the law and trampling over the Constitution. So I've taken a position that if Trump breaks the law and he hurts California and Californians, we will sue him. Period, full stop. If he doesn't break the law, we won't sue. And we can't go to court if all we have is political grievance or ideological or policy difference. That's not enough. You'll get thrown out of court immediately. We go to court with the receipts, the facts, the law, a case. And we have won in over 80% of our cases, securing either permanent injunctions or preliminary injunctions or TROs. We've protected $168 billion of funding for California, protected priceless constitutional rights like the right to birthright citizenship and voting rights. And we have also won at the trial court levels to keep the National Guard from being unlawfully deployed. Trump has tried to deploy the National Guard to LA based on Title 10 of federal law, USC 12406, and it requires the existence of an invasion or a rebellion or the inability to enforce execute the laws with the regular forces. And we got a temporary restraining order saying that none of those elements exist, and he improperly deployed the National Guard. We also won after a trial showing that the National Guard on the ground in California was violating the Posse Comitatus Act, which prevents the military from engaging in civilian law enforcement on American soil. So our goal with our own case, the case in Oregon as well, in which the California National Guard, over the objections of the California governor, was deployed to Oregon over the objections of the Oregon governor when there was no basis for it. And we won a temporary restraining order there as well. Our goal is to make sure Trump follows the law and that he not treat the military as his traveling personal police force and personal army to go after blue states and blue governors and blue mayors, which is what he has shown he is trying to do, and when there's no justification or basis for it. So we're trying to keep him within the bounds of the law. President Trump won the election. He's allowed to advance his agenda lawfully, but he is never, ever allowed to advance his agenda unlawfully. And so we're there to check his abuses of power when he oversteps, when he overreaches, when he violates the law, and keep him within the bounds of the law.
Currently, are there National Guard troops from California in Portland right now?
We believe that they are there, but standing down. There was about 300 National Guard people in California, I think 200 of them were deployed to Oregon in two different shifts, 100 at one time and then another 100. 15 or 14, we think, were sent on to Chicago to help train the National Guard there in Illinois. But to the best of our knowledge, just under 200 are on the ground in Oregon, or at least recently were. And I think the governor, Tina Kotek of Oregon, is trying to send them back down to California.
Okay. Let's bring the conversation back to what's going on with a small town here in San Diego County, the city of El Cajon. You have filed a lawsuit saying that the city is sharing license plate information with other states. Tell us why you think this is wrong and why you are going after the city of El Cajon and its city elected officials.
El Cajon has broken the law, and there's a law in California, SB 35, that prevents the sharing of automated license plate reader information and data outside of the state and with the federal government. And the city of El Cajon has shared their data, their ALPR, automated license plate reader data, with 23 states outside of California in direct violation of the law. And we reached out to them, as well as 19 other cities, 20 total. El Cajon was one of the 20, that we had concerns about and information indicating that they were violating this law that prevents the sharing of data outside of California. 19 of them came into compliance, cooperatively, collaboratively, working with us. El Cajon has been defiant. El Cajon has been obstinate. El Cajon has been committed to breaking the law. And so we didn't wish to do this, but they forced us to do this. So that, we are now suing them in court to get them under compliance. They shouldn't be sharing the data of their residents. Their residents deserve better. It's dangerous to have this information shared out of state because we lose control of it. It can be shared with the federal government. It can be used for immigration enforcement purposes, for targeting providers or patients of reproductive care or gender affirming care. So there's reasons that this data shouldn't be shared, and El Cajon should be complying with the law. It's unfortunate that they've decided not to, and so we've sued them.
We're speaking with the California Attorney General Rob Bonta on some of the multiple pending lawsuits happening against the federal government and even against some of the cities in the state of California, as you just heard. We're going to continue this conversation after a quick break. Border Report Live is back in 1 minute. Welcome back to Border Report Live. My name is Rudy Mireles. Joining me today, Salvador Rivera, our San Diego correspondent, and California Attorney General Rob Bonta. Mr. Bonta, I did want to ask before we kind of go back to Salvador, I had one question because your office is part of the fentanyl abatement and suppression team that works with the U.S. Attorney's Office and HSI. With all the litigation and all the different things that have been happening, how is the relationship with those organizations as you work with that team?
It's been strong with the rank and file. My team on the ground, their teams on the ground want to tackle crime, want to work together, want to share resources and intelligence and information to stop this poison of fentanyl that is so deadly and that is killing and harming so many of our communities. So I'm grateful that on the ground we could continue to work together. There are many areas of common interest. Tackling crime, fentanyl, organized retail crime, human trafficking, hate crimes is one of them. And my goal is to work with the federal government on any issue that we can work on issues like the federal government breaking the law. Those are going to be hard to work on. And so we don't think it's a lot to ask. If they follow the law, then no problem. But we have to go to court to keep them from breaking the law. But on anything else where we have shared interests, like keeping our communities safe and keeping them safe from fentanyl, we continue to work together, and we continue to work well together.
Okay. Mr. Bonta, I did want to ask you about something. And in full disclosure here, in fairness, Mayor Bob Wells from El Cajon, as we were discussing your lawsuit, your pending lawsuit against the city of El Cajon for the sharing of license plate information with other states, the mayor of El Cajon, Bob Wells, says that the city is acting within the law, that it shares info with other states because other states share information about potential, quote, bad guys who come to El Cajon. Your response to that, sir?
That's not how the law works in California. If other states are permitted under their state laws to share information with El Cajon, then they can act lawfully in doing so. But there are laws in California. There's a law specifically about the sharing of information from automated license plate readers. And it says you can share within California with other cities, with other counties, but you cannot share information outside of the state of California or with the federal government. It's very clear on that. And it doesn't say, hey, if the other state is sharing with you, then you can share with them. It doesn't say that. And so the mayor of El Cajon cannot make up his own laws or rules. He needs to follow the existing law and rules. And they are very clear, and they do not permit what he has said. So I suggest he consult with his attorney who can guide him in the right direction, because it doesn't sound like he understands the law of the state of California. Unfortunately, you would hope a mayor does and should. And honestly, we have worked with with the city to walk them through their lack of compliance and how they can comply. 19 other local jurisdictions figured out how to do that. El Cajon is the outlier. El Cajon is the one stubborn, obstinate violator of the law, and this wrong, erroneous rationalization and fake justification by the mayor is very disturbing.
Okay. And again, the mayor of El Cajon, Bob Wells, says that the city is acting within the law. So I want to, again, clarify that. Now, among the many legal stand-ups you have with the White House, one deals with birthright citizenship. Where does that stand, sir?
Well, we continue to win on our action challenging the Trump administrations and Trump's effort to unilaterally, with a stroke of a pen, try to revoke the U.S. constitutional right of birthright citizenship. On day one of his administration, on Inauguration Day, January 20th of this year, Trump signed an executive order that tried to revoke a longstanding constitutional right, the right to be a citizen if you're born on American soil, right there in the 14th Amendment, the citizenship clause. And we got an immediate injunction. That injunction is nationwide. And we continue to have a nationwide injunction, meaning a court order blocking nationwide the implementation of this unconstitutional executive order by Trump. So just like in 80% of our cases, we are winning this case. There was an aspect of this case that went up to the U.S. Supreme Court on the issue of universal injunctions and the scope of the relief that a court can provide a party like the state of California. And they determined that only the parties in front of the court, those who have decided to sue, can get relief. And even with that ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court, we have secured a nationwide injunction because we need one to get complete relief for the states who have sued. But this is a very clear violation. This is a violation of the Constitution. The President of the United States should not be violating the Constitution, and we continue to win in this case with court orders showing that our position is correct and that Trump is in violation of the law.
Discuss, if you will, the conditions being placed on federal grants, money coming from Washington's designated for states such as California.
Well, the Trump administration has, with multiple actions, tried to, one, withhold already congressionally appropriated funding to states, including California. And Congress has the power of the purse. Congress has the power to appropriate funds. The president does not. He must carry out Congress's wishes and execute their guidance when it comes to appropriations. But he desperately wants the power of the purse. And he has trespassed on Congress's authority multiple times to try to withhold funding that's already been appropriated. So that's one type of effort Trump has tried to act on to keep money from flowing to California. But he's also, as you just mentioned, in a second bucket or category or type of action, tried to impose unlawful conditions on funding to California, funding like transportation funding to keep planes in the air and cars on the road, funding like Department of Homeland Security funding to fight to enhance cybersecurity and counterterrorism, disaster preparedness and relief. And he has imposed immigration enforcement conditions on that funding, saying that California must participate in the mass deportation machine that is cruel and inhumane of the federal government in order to get this funding that has nothing to do with immigration enforcement, keeping planes in the air, cars on the road, tackling terrorism, have nothing to do with immigration enforcement, but they try to impose these conditions. And we have slapped them down and blocked them when they have tried to do that. We've had orders from multiple courts saying that this is unlawful. It's a violation of state sovereignty. There's clear case law that shows that the federal government cannot commandeer or conscript or draft into service states to do their job for them. They could do their job if they do it lawfully, but they cannot force states like California to do it. They cannot coerce us by conditioning funding to do their job for them either. So that's why we continue to prevail in court against these unlawful conditions that the Trump administration tries to impose on funding for California.
Tell us about litigation that you and 23 other states across the country, red and blue states, joined to try and get federal money that was earmarked for education, for schools. How did you win that case? And I guess the money eventually did come to all the schools here, the districts in California and other places.
It did. It did. There was about $7 billion of funding, education funding nationwide, almost $1 billion into California itself, that the Trump administration, right before the school year was about to start, threatened to withhold. And they were required under law to provide the funding in two different payments. And we sued them after they failed to make the first installment. And we were able to secure an early court order. And then they raised the white flag, threw in the towel, and said, "We cry uncle. You win, we lose. We will give you everything you want. And we will stop violating the law, and we will make the full payment." So that was a complete victory. Nearly $7 billion flowed. And it was based on what's called a stipulated agreement. The Trump administration agreed to make the payment, and we were able to memorialize that with an enforceable document in front of the court. And so it's not appealable. There's no appeal. They're not fighting it. This is not going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's not going to go to an appellate court. It's over. We won, and it is a complete win, and it's a final win. And it's not just the W's and the L's that matter. They don't matter. What matters is the funding going to children, going to teachers, going to classrooms, going to parents, going to public schools, that Trump unlawfully tried to withhold, and that we were able to ensure was that money flowed and was used appropriately to support our children, teachers, parents, and public schools. So a victory for teachers, parents, kids, and schools.
Discuss, California is very progressive in many ways. Some people knock it. Quickly, if you can, discuss where this money for electric vehicles stands right now.
Yeah, there's been multiple cases in which the Trump administration has attacked our lawful efforts to move towards sustainable and practices clean energy, electric vehicles. We have gotten waivers from the federal administration year after year, 50 waivers plus over the many years, allowing us to have clean car requirements that are good for the environment and good for the growing clean energy economy. And we have a lawsuit right now that's protecting those clean waivers. We won a lawsuit that protected funding for electric vehicle infrastructure, charging stations across the state of California. So we continue to win in our cases as well. Some are pending, but we have some early victories as well when it comes to California's nation-leading and global leading climate action.
We've been speaking with California Attorney General Rob Bonta this afternoon, and unfortunately, we have come to a close. We are out of time, sir, but we did want to thank you so much for spending the afternoon with us, and we hope we can call on you again in the future.
An honor to be with you. Would love to join you again in the future. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Salvador, as always, a great guest and great questions for that guest. But we are not done yet. We'll be right back after a quick break. And welcome back to Border Report Live. My name is Rudy Mireles. I'm your host here in the Harlingen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley of Deep South Texas. We have just had an incredible run of guests this week, and capping it off this week is Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, as you just saw a few moments ago. Don't forget, if you missed an episode, you can always catch up in podcast form. You can find Border Report Live on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and YouTube apps. And also, don't forget to check out our partners at Political Power Ranker. It's a weekly show tracking the movers, shakers, and rule makers in American politics. You can check more out at abc27.com or your local Nexstar station's website. For Salvador, Julian, Sandra Sanchez here in South Texas, my name is Rudy Mireles. Have a good day.